Stars are rated. Love equals sex.
Jordan, we have been waiting for this. We have been talking about this for a long time. Finally, the new album is out. How does it feel knowing the fact that you guys have had to deal with complications with, COVID-19 shutdowns, openings, not knowing what the hell was going on? Somehow you guys have done it, and you've done an amazing job. Congratulations.
Thank you. Wow, yeah, trust me. You've been along for the ride. You know how much it's gone into. It's been crazy.
Let's go into that, man, the difficulties. What have been the difficulties in doing this, knowing you've got all this great music, but like I said, just trying to get studios, trying to get people together, just everything. What was that like? Go through that with me, please.
Honestly, like the biggest, it's all the pandemic. Like everything would have went according to plan. I mean, I say that now, who knows? But everything felt like it was on the right path before the pandemic. And then, it's you as artists, I think we're always in a position where we want to show people the things we make. We don't want to hold that stuff back. But at the same time, it's like we want to make sure we're putting things out at the right time so it can reach the most people possible. And that's put us in a position where we've had to wait longer than we wanted to drop some of this music. So, yeah, mostly it just comes down to timing and the constantly, it's just moving the goalpost all the time of like, well, maybe we'll be back to touring in like fall 2020. And then it was like, oh, but by spring and summer we'll do it. And then, no, not really then. Now we're talking about fall 2021. There's a lot of pessimists out there who are saying it won't be till, 2022. Like coming closer to the spring before we're back out on the road. So it's just trying to time things correctly, and we do the best we can, but yeah, it's been tough.
How did you guys go about recordings itself? Did you were you home sending back and forth? Did you guys get into the studio? How did that work out?
Thankfully, we were already in the mixing stage of the album by the time the pandemic hit. So we were already planning on mixing remotely. Our producer lives out in BC. So the experience actually making the music during the pandemic wasn't all that different than it would have been if this wasn't going on, simply because he would be sending us mixes. We'd be going back with notes, and we were already planning to do it using like Zoom calls and stuff like that. So in that sense, it's not that different.
Now, I'm just curious, were the songs written before the pandemic?
Yeah, they were tracked all in BC when we toured out there in 2019, we stopped off for 2 weeks in BC, and that's where we tracked the whole record.
So this is going to be interesting because what was your thought pattern when you were putting this together before the pandemic and writing songs? What was the mental state, and what were you thinking of the stories that you wanted to tell? Because I got a feeling if you guys were writing the songs and recording it during the pandemic, it might have been a different album. It
might have been, and what's funny, I actually just was speaking to someone about this really recently, where we were just talking about how because the album sort of straddles both realities, like a lot of the songs were written and recorded pre-pandemic, but then they were mixed, and all the artwork and the videos and all of the associated imagery was done post-pandemic or during. The album, it kind of shows you like both sides of this coin, which is interesting because the stories and the songs have taken on a new life in this context. So before this happened, we sort of had a sense of the stories we were trying to tell. A lot of it had to do with sort of like the band coming of age and sort of like figuring ourselves out and the struggles of like doing that both, as musicians and as a group of people, but also, our relationships and how we relate to the world around us. And then when I look at a lot of those lyrics, having experienced what we just did over the past year, they take on a whole new meaning, but it still feels just as true. So I think there's actually something really special about that. And as an artist, I kind of appreciate the fact that they'd be seen in both ways.
So let's talk about it. What's the album called, and how do you think it represents you guys today from the first time I met you guys several years ago performing at City Hall?
So the album's called Daytona Bleach. It's based on a concept Sally had from, she spent a lot of time in Florida over the course of her life. And it plays on the theme of like people's perception of a thing and the reality of that thing, and how those two things can be opposite sometimes. So something is clean and polished and like almost like the utopia that you might imagine from like a vacation getaway like Daytona Beach, versus that thing being poisoned, or like the reality of that thing where you're tripping over beer bottles and whatever, you know? And I think that plays into a lot of the themes of the songs. Like a lot of the song titles are opposites. So you have like Better Lovers, Fake Friends. You have All or Nothing. You have He Says, She Says. You know, there's a lot of the themes of just things kind of at war, something at war with itself, or something that like you can dissect into two completely opposite things, but when you put them together, it creates its own thing.
Wow. That's heavy, man. That is definitely heavy. I love that. What's the new single and what's that about, sir?
So Out With the Old is a song about kind of like, it's almost like a violent rebirth sort of concept. It's describing a lot of just like what it feels like to interact with a world that doesn't feel like it was like made for you, and you know, just kind of sorting out those emotions and like working through your own entitlement while also, you know, appreciating your own worth and being willing to get rid of the things that aren't serving you and welcome the new things that might be coming your way, that might be just around the corner if you're willing to make some decisions and take certain risks. So it was actually really important to us to put that song out at the time that we did, because it helped lift us up during a difficult time.
And I was going to say, doesn't that sound like to me what people were feeling going into December of 2020 and seeing what was going to happen in 2021? That's the perfect example, man.
And I'll tell you a little secret, man. Like up until around that point, we weren't even planning on dropping that song. And it was just when we were looking at the songs we had and thinking about how we were feeling, how, you know, we felt everyone else was feeling, we were like, you know, I think we need to rethink things a bit and maybe put this song out now, because I think it'll mean something to a lot of people the same way it's been meaning something to us. So we really felt the urge to share it with the world at that time, and I'm glad we did, because I think it really connected.
Definitely does, man. Because we still don't know what's going to be happening. I mean, venues are still closed. I think I heard on the news just the other day that drive-ins are looking to start opening around March. Are you guys looking at any drive-in performances? Are you looking at virtual? Or as we speak now, just waiting to see what happens?
I mean, everyone's waiting to see, but we're going to take whatever gig comes our way, man. If that's a live stream show or a drive-in show, or we're playing on the back of like some wagon out in the country somewhere, like we'll take any opportunity to play, because performance is the core of what we do. Like everything else we've learned how to do, you know, independently running our own label as we have, and like learning how to, you know, create our music videos and our photos and all of that kind of stuff. We only did that to facilitate our ability to get out there and play live. So the sooner we can do that, the better.
Definitely on that. In the meantime, though, what advice can you throw at us? Because still, a lot of people are still hurting, man. I mean, they've lost family, they've lost jobs, and a lot of times they've lost hope because of what's happening, because it just feels like it's just this long continuation of the exact same thing. You guys have still been able to sort of cut through and continue what you love to do. What advice can you give those folks who are missing out on that?
Man, I wish I had the answers, Rudy. I feel like we're struggling with it just as much as everyone else. Like as much as we've been able to kind of keep ourselves afloat, it's like a constant struggle on the daily to just, you know, keep our heads above water and keep a positive attitude about what we're doing. What I would say is take the time to work on yourself and work on your relationships with the people around you. There's like no better time to look deeply at yourself and become more self-aware and do that personal work on your mental health and stuff like that, because we have no choice but to confront those things. This is like the only time in anyone's lives where we've had the removal of all of those distractions. And yeah, there have been other stresses put on us, but if you can take this opportunity to better your situation so that when we come out of this, you're a better person than you were going into it, that's the best thing any of us can hope for right now. And I know that's what I'm trying to do and what the rest of the band is trying to do as well.
Same here, my friend. Amen to everything you said. Social media, where do we go to follow you?
Everything at Monowhales, Sam. We're the only Monowhales out there. Can't miss it.
Say hello to everybody for me. You be safe. Thank you so much for the interview, man. Thanks for the
Thank you, Rudy.
And like I said, I'm crossing fingers that sometime we can do an interview in person. It's way too long. Or even better still, man, I would be honored to introduce you guys again on stage.
Dude, can't wait till that can happen again. It's a pleasure talking to you as always, Rudy. Thanks again.
Be safe. Big love to you. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.